Legacy of Two Worlds. 10 years after the successful defense of Earth's sun, the Sol system had become unrecognizable. Crystalline structures orbited alongside traditional space stations, while ships of both human and Meridian design traced paths between the planets. But the most dramatic changes weren't visible to the naked eye. Sarah Chen, now director of the Joint Species Development Initiative, stood in the observation dome of Harmony Station, watching a holographic display of their latest stellar protection mission. Beside her, Kirix's crystalline form had evolved to incorporate traces of human-inspired asymmetry, a small but significant sign of how both species had influenced each other. That makes 117 stars protected, Sarah noted, marking another point on the galactic map. The harvesters haven't attempted to interfere with our operations in over 3 years. They are adapting their strategy. Kirix's thoughts carried the weight of careful analysis. Our long-range sensors detect their activities moving to more distant sectors of the galaxy. Running away, Rodriguez commented as he entered the dome. The former mission director had aged well, his silver hair and lined face carrying the dignity of their shared accomplishments. Can't say I blame them. Every star we protect becomes another beacon warning other civilizations about their presence. The galactic display showed clusters of protected stars spreading outward from Earth like ripples in a pond. Each point represented not just a saved star, but a civilization awakening to the broader reality of galactic politics. The harvesters aren't the only ones adapting, Sarah observed, pulling up data from their latest diplomatic missions. Look at how quickly the younger civilizations are advancing once we share our combined technology. The Meridian's knowledge base combined with human innovation, we're reshaping the galaxy's development curve. Kirix's form shifted in what had become recognizable as their version of pride. Our society debated for centuries whether to abandon our role as observers. We feared the chaos that direct intervention might bring. We never considered that chaos itself might be a catalyst for positive change. Controlled chaos, Rodriguez corrected with a smile. That's humanity's specialty. Break the rules, but break them thoughtfully. The station's AI announced the arrival of their latest guests, representatives from a newly contacted civilization whose star had shown early signs of harvester activity. Sarah adjusted the environmental controls to accommodate their atmospheric needs. They're terrified, Kirix observed, sensing the visitors' emotional state as they approached. Their scientists had just begun to detect the quantum drainage when we arrived. They believed they were facing extinction alone. Just like we thought we were, Sarah nodded. But now they'll have what we didn't, allies, knowledge, and hope. She turned to greet the delegates as the dome's doors opened. The arthropod-like beings moved with nervous energy, their compound eyes taking in the impossible cooperation between humans and Meridians. Rodriguez stepped forward to make the formal introductions, his voice carrying the warmth of someone who had delivered this message many times before. Welcome to Harmony Station. 10 years ago, our civilizations faced the same threat you've discovered. We found a solution, but more importantly, we found each other. We're here to offer you the same opportunity. As Sarah began explaining their stellar protection technology, she noticed something that still amazed her after all these years. The delegates' fear was giving way to hope, their postures straightening as they realized they weren't alone in the cosmos. It was a transformation she had witnessed dozens of times now, but it never lost its impact. Observer Kirix, one of the delegates, addressed the Meridian directly. Our preliminary research suggests your species has been aware of the harvesters for millennia. Why choose to act now? Kirix's colors shifted through patterns of reflection before responding. Because humans taught us that observation without action is a form of complicity. They showed us that understanding the universe is not enough, we must also strive to improve it. Even if improvement means breaking every rule we thought we knew, Sarah added with a smile. Sometimes the best solutions come from impossible combinations. A species of watchers joining with a species of doers. That should never have worked. But here we are. The display behind them showed the ever-growing network of protected stars, each point representing billions of lives saved, civilizations preserved, futures reclaimed. But it also showed something more, the birth of a new kind of galactic community, one built on the foundation of cooperation between radically different approaches to existence. The harvesters believed they could continue their harvest indefinitely because spacefaring civilizations never cooperate effectively, Rodriguez explained to the delegates. They counted on fear, isolation, and technological gaps to keep their victims vulnerable. Instead, they gave us a common cause, a reason to reach across the void and help each other. Sarah pulled up the latest stellar protection protocols, a beautiful fusion of meridian precision and human adaptability. We're not just saving stars anymore, she told the delegates. We're building something new. Every civilization we contact brings their own insights, their own innovations. Together, we're creating a galaxy where cooperation trumps observation, and action overcomes fear. As the delegates began their technical briefing, Kirix moved closer to Sarah. 10 years ago, you convinced us to abandon millennia of tradition and help save your son. Did you ever imagine it would lead to this? Sarah watched the delegates as they marveled at the combined achievements of human and meridian science. Honestly? No. We were just trying to survive. But that's the thing about humans, we're really bad at leaving things alone once we get started. Save one star, why not save them all? Meet one alien species, why not build an alliance? Controlled chaos, Rodriguez repeated his earlier phrase, watching the growing network of protected stars with satisfaction. It's changing the galaxy one impossible solution at a time. Outside the observation dome, Earth's sun shone with its slightly altered quantum signature, a constant reminder that sometimes the most profound changes begin with a simple refusal to accept the impossible. The harvesters had never expected their victims to fight back. They certainly never expected them to win. But most of all, they never expected their actions to unite the very civilizations they had sought to exploit. In the end, their attempt to harvest the stars had seeded something far more powerful, a legacy of cooperation that would reshape the galaxy for millennia to come. The Sun's children. The quantum array hung in Earth's orbit like a technological spiderweb, its crystalline meridian upgrades catching starlight in impossible patterns. Inside the control module, Sarah Chen watched as the final calibrations were completed. Human determination had compressed what should have been years of testing into mere weeks. Energy synchronization at 98%, reported Lieutenant Emma Santos from her station. Meridian crystal lattice is stable and accepting our input. First observer Kirix hovered near the main display, their crystalline form reflecting the tension in the room. The stellar harvesters have noticed our preparations. We're detecting quantum disturbances at the heliopause. Let them come, Rodriguez said from his command station. How long until we can initiate the sequence? Sarah's fingers danced across the hybrid interface. 20 minutes to achieve full quantum resonance. After that. She paused, looking at the massive form of their sun through the observation window. After that, we find out if we can change the fundamental frequency of a star. The plan was audacious, even by human standards. By merging meridian crystal technology with humanity's quantum array, they had created a device capable of influencing stellar matter at the quantum level. If it worked, they would essentially reprogram their sun, making it incompatible with the harvester's extraction network. If it failed, they would trigger a chain reaction that would destroy their solar system. Multiple objects entering the heliopause, Santos reported, her voice steady despite the implications. Energy signatures unlike anything in either human or meridian databases. The main display showed them, sleek, dark shapes that seemed to bend space around them. The harvesters' ships, finally revealing themselves after eons of hidden operation. They're accelerating, Kirix observed. Their trajectory suggests they recognize the threat we pose. Sarah looked at the approaching ships, then at their sun. They've never had to deal with resistance before. They're used to operating in secret, draining stars so slowly that developing civilizations never notice until it's too late. We've got energy weapons powering up, Santos warned. Impact in 3 minutes. Rodriguez opened a channel to the combined human Meridian defense fleet. All ships, engage the harvester vessels. Buy us time to complete the sequence. Space lit up with energy exchanges as the defenders met the harvesters' attack. Human ships, upgraded with Meridian technology, fought alongside crystalline vessels that had only weeks ago been observation posts. Quantum resonance at 60%, Sarah reported, trying to ignore the battle raging around them. We need 15 more minutes. A harvester beam sliced through 2 defense ships, the exotic energy causing them to simply cease existing. The remaining vessels adjusted their tactics, using the quantum array's massive structure for cover. Their technology is beyond even our understanding, Kirix's thoughts carried a tone of worry. We cannot hold them back for 15 minutes. We don't have to, Sarah's voice was firm as she typed in new commands. We just need to show them we're serious. She looked at Rodriguez. Sir, permission to initiate an unplanned modification? Rodriguez barely hesitated. At this point, Doctor, I don't think we have anything left to lose. Sarah nodded and began implementing changes to the quantum array's programming. The harvesters have spent millennia perfecting their extraction technology. They understand stellar physics better than either of our species. But there's one thing I bet they've never encountered, human spite. Clarify, Kirix requested as the array's energy patterns began to shift. They're trying to stop us from changing our sun's quantum frequency, Sarah explained, her fingers flying across the interface. But what if instead of trying to save it, we convince them we're willing to destroy it? The implications hit everyone at once. Rodriguez leaned forward. You're going to make them think we're initiating a stellar collapse. Better, Sarah's grim smile reflected in her screen. I'm going to make it look like we're about to trigger a quantum cascade that would affect their entire extraction network. They've spent too long setting up their system to risk losing it all. The quantum array's energy patterns shifted, creating ripples in space that propagated outward. The harvester ship's attack patterns immediately changed. They're pulling back, Santos reported, surprise evident in her voice. All harvester vessels are retreating to the heliopause. They're attempting to analyze the quantum signatures we're generating, Kirix observed. They cannot determine if our threat is real or not. Sarah didn't look up from her work. That's because I'm using a modification of their own extraction frequencies. As far as they can tell, we've figured out how to reverse their entire network. They can either retreat and let us finish our work on our sun, or risk losing their entire harvest system. A bluff, Rodriguez said with admiration. We're betting they won't risk their larger operation to stop us. Humans, Kirix's thoughts carried something like amazement, are the only species we've ever encountered who would think to threaten their own star as a tactical move. The harvester ships continued their retreat, maintaining a safe distance while the quantum array completed its actual purpose, the rewriting of their sun's quantum signature. Original sequence completing, Sarah announced. Quantum resonance at 98%, 99, initiation in 5 seconds. The control room held its breath as energy began flowing from the array into the sun. For a moment, their stars seemed to pulse with an inner light that had nothing to do with fusion. Quantum frequency shift successful, Sarah finally announced, her voice thick with relief. The harvester's extraction network can no longer interface with our sun. Through the observation window, they watched as the harvester ships vanished back into deep space, leaving them with their newly protected star. They had done it. Humanity had not only discovered a threat that had existed for millennia but had found a way to stop it. We should warn other civilizations, Rodriguez said. Help them protect their stars too. Kirix's form shifted in agreement. Perhaps it is time for the Meridians to do more than observe. With humanity's help, we can identify affected stars and implement similar defenses. Sarah looked at their sun, now pulsing with a slightly different quantum signature, one that marked it as protected, as saved. The harvesters thought they could prey on developing civilizations forever. They never expected their victims to fight back. They never expected humans, Rodriguez corrected. Speaking of which. He pulled something from his desk and handed it to Sarah. It was a T-shirt with the words, "Humanity, we hacked a star" printed across the front. For the first time in weeks, the control room filled with laughter, human and Meridian alike. They had faced extinction and instead found not just survival, but a new purpose. The age of observation was over. The age of action had begun. Unconventional solutions. The merged research facility aboard the International Space Station had become an unprecedented fusion of human and Meridian technology. Crystalline interfaces sprouted from terrestrial computer banks, while holographic displays danced with conventional screens. But it was the clash of methodologies, not technologies, that created the most fascinating interactions. "You're approaching this entirely backwards," senior theorist VYX's thoughts resonated through the lab as they observed Dr. Chen's latest simulation. The quantum harmonics must be stabilized before attempting core intervention. Sarah didn't look up from her calculations. "We don't have time for stabilization. The resonance patterns are accelerating. Look," she gestured at a holographic representation of their sun's core, where angry red patterns pulsed with increasing frequency. 3 months, maybe less, before total collapse. "Which is precisely why we must proceed with caution," VYX insisted. "Our models." "Your models," Sarah interrupted, "are based on natural stellar decay. This isn't natural, remember. Something is affecting our sun at the quantum level, and it's not following any of your predictable patterns." The lab hummed with activity around them as human and Meridian scientists worked to merge their understanding of stellar physics. The Meridians had brought millennia of accumulated knowledge, but the humans contributed something equally valuable, the ability to think beyond established paradigms. Rodriguez entered the lab, accompanied by first observer Kirix. "Tell me we're making progress," he said, looking between Sarah and VYX. "We've identified the source of the quantum interference," Sarah replied, expanding her holographic display. "It's like, imagine dropping a stone in a pond. The ripples affect the entire surface. Something similar is happening to our sun, but at the quantum level. The Meridian sensors helped us track the origin point." Kirix's form shifted colors rapidly, their equivalent of intense interest. "The pattern originates from beyond your solar system's heliopause. But that should be impossible. Quantum effects cannot propagate across such distances. Unless," Sarah's eyes lit up with that dangerous spark of human inspiration, "they're being amplified somehow. What if our sun isn't the only one affected? What if it's part of a network?" The suggestion sent ripples of color cascading through both Meridian's forms. VYX's thoughts came fast and agitated. "You suggest someone is deliberately manipulating stellar cores across the galaxy? The energy requirements would be massive," Sarah finished. "But not impossible. Especially if they're using the stars themselves as power sources." She pulled up a new simulation, one that merged Meridian stellar data with human theoretical models. "Look at these patterns. They're not random decay, they're energy extraction signatures." Rodriguez leaned closer to the display. "You're saying someone's stealing energy from our sun?" "Not just stealing it," Sarah's voice was grim. "They're harvesting it. Systematically. The decay we're seeing. It's not our sun dying, it's our sun being drained." The revelation hung in the air like a physical presence. The Meridian's colors had gone still, a sign of deep processing. Finally, Kirix broke the silence. "If this is true, our entire understanding of galactic civilization requires revision. No known species possesses this level of technology." "Maybe that's why they've stayed hidden," Rodriguez suggested. "Just like you did with us. Watching from the shadows, harvesting stars, moving on when they're depleted." Sarah manipulated the simulation, showing how their quantum array could be modified. But they didn't count on us noticing so quickly, or on us developing technology that could detect their extraction process. And they certainly didn't expect us to try to stop them. The risk remains catastrophic, VYX cautioned. If we attempt to disrupt their extraction network, the backlash could destroy our sun anyway, Sarah finished. We're already facing extinction. The question is, do we go quietly, or do we try to save not just ourselves, but potentially countless other civilizations whose stars are being harvested? The lab fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans and Meridians alike stared at the holographic representation of their sun, a massive fusion reactor slowly being bled dry by an unseen force. Kirix's form crystallized into a sharp, determined configuration. Our society has spent millennia observing, documenting, predicting. Perhaps it is time we learn to act instead. Dr. Chen, what do you propose? Sarah's fingers flew across the interface, bringing up a new set of calculations. We can't stop them directly, their technology is too advanced. But we don't have to. All we need to do is change the frequency of our sun's quantum signature. Make it incompatible with their extraction network. The calculations required would be beyond even our most advanced computers, VYX protested. Then we'll have to improvise, Sarah smiled. Humans are good at that. We'll use your knowledge of stellar physics, our quantum array, and something neither of our species has tried before, we're going to hack a star. Rodriguez couldn't help but laugh. When this is over, assuming we survive, I want that on a t-shirt, humanity, we hacked a star. The Meridian's colors shifted in what might have been their version of amusement. Your species continues to surprise us, Kirix thought. Very well. Let us proceed with this, stellar hacking. But we must work quickly. If the entities behind this extraction network realize what we're attempting, they'll try to stop us, Sarah nodded. Good. Let them try. Because now they're not just facing primitive humans, they're facing humans and Meridians together. And we're done being passive observers. Breaking point. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the holographic display in Houston Stellar Defense Command, her eyes fixed on the impossible data streaming in from their quantum array. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers worked in focused silence, the gravity of their discovery weighing heavily on the room. The anomaly isn't natural, she announced, her voice steady despite the implications of her words. These energy signatures, they're being filtered through something before they reach our sensors. Mission Director James Rodriguez leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic readouts. You're saying someone's been watching us? All this time? Not just watching, Sarah replied, manipulating the display to show a complex pattern of quantum distortions. They're studying us. These interference patterns, they're diagnostic tools. Sophisticated ones. Whatever's out there, they knew about our sun's condition long before we did. The revelation spread through the command center like a shockwave. Humanity had spent the last 5 years pushing the boundaries of science, developing technologies centuries ahead of their expected timeline, all in a desperate race to save their dying star. And now, they learned they weren't alone. Dr. Chen, Rodriguez's voice cut through the murmurs, can you locate the source? Sarah's fingers danced through the holographic interface, correlating data from the quantum array with traditional sensor readings. The interference is strongest here, she highlighted a region beyond Neptune's orbit. But sir, that's not the most interesting part. Look at these patterns, they're changing. Whatever's out there, they're reacting to our discoveries. Before Rodriguez could respond, every screen in the command center flickered. The quantum array's reading spiked, and a new presence made itself known. The air itself seemed to crystallize as a holographic form materialized in the center of the room, a being of shifting iridescent membranes and complex geometric patterns. Humans, the creature's thoughts somehow translated directly into their minds, we are the Meridians. We have watched your kind for centuries. Your recent actions have forced us to abandon our protocol of non-intervention. Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her shock. You knew our son was dying. You could have helped us. Your species was not deemed sufficiently advanced to handle such knowledge. The Meridian's thoughts carried a tone that might have been regret. We have observed thousands of civilizations face similar crises. The pattern is always the same. But we're not following your pattern, are we? Sarah challenged. That's why you're here now. Our quantum array, it's doing something you didn't expect. The Meridian's form shifted, its colors rippling. Your methods are unorthodox. Dangerous. The energies you're channeling through your device risk accelerating the solar degradation. We cannot allow you to continue. Rodriguez joined Sarah, his voice firm. With all due respect, you lost the right to make that decision when you chose to watch us struggle without offering help. We're not stopping. Not when we're this close. Close to what? The Meridian's thoughts sharpened. Your calculations are incomplete. Your understanding of stellar physics is primitive. The processes you're attempting to influence are beyond your comprehension. Sarah pulled up the latest data from their quantum array. Maybe our understanding is primitive by your standards, but we're seeing something you missed. Look at these resonance patterns in the solar core. They're not random degradation, they're more like feedback loops. The Meridian's form moved closer to the display, its crystalline structure refracting the holographic light. For a moment, silence filled the command center as the alien being processed the data. Impossible, the thought finally came. These patterns, they violate fundamental principles of stellar evolution. Exactly, Sarah's eyes lit up with the excitement of scientific discovery. Because we're not looking at natural stellar evolution. Something else is affecting our sun, something that your advanced algorithms dismissed because it didn't fit your established models. The Meridian's colors shifted rapidly, its thoughts becoming more urgent. If what you suggest is true, the implications would reshape our understanding of stellar physics. But your proposed solution, the energies involved, would be catastrophic if we're wrong, Rodriguez finished. We know. But we're out of options and out of time. The question is, now that you've broken your silence, are you going to help us, or just keep watching? The command center fell silent again as the Meridian's form pulsed with shifting colors. Around them, displays continued to stream data from the quantum array, each second bringing their sun closer to its breaking point. Finally, the alien being's thoughts reached out again. Your species continues to defy our predictions. Perhaps that is exactly what this situation requires. We will share our knowledge, but understand, if your theories are incorrect, you risk not just your own star, but a chain reaction that could destabilize this entire sector of space. Sarah looked at the holographic representation of their dying sun, then back at the Meridian. Sometimes the biggest risks carry the biggest rewards. We've bet everything on this project already. With your help, we might just rewrite the laws of physics. The Meridian's form crystallized into a more defined shape, a gesture that somehow conveyed both resignation and admiration. Very well. We will begin immediately. But know this, in all our millennia of observation, no species has ever attempted anything like what you propose. You are either brilliant beyond our understanding, or mad beyond salvation. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. In human history, those two things often go hand in hand. The silent observers. The crystalline observation post hung motionless in the void beyond Neptune's orbit, its prismatic surfaces reflecting the distant sunlight in barely perceptible patterns. Inside, first observer Kirix watched the holographic display with growing unease. After 3 centuries of monitoring this unremarkable solar system, something had changed. Remarkable, isn't it? Second observer Talon's thoughts rippled through their shared neural network. They've managed to detect the anomaly far sooner than our models predicted. Kirix's iridescent membrane shifted through shades of deep purple, a sign of concern among the Meridians. The humans, those peculiar bipedal creatures they'd watched evolve from primitive tool users to a spacefaring civilization, had indeed discovered what the Meridians had known for millennia: their sun was dying, far ahead of its natural life cycle. The observation post's sensors recorded every transmission, every launch, every desperate attempt by humanity to understand what was happening to their star. The Meridians had seen this pattern before, on countless worlds across the galaxy. A young species, faced with its inevitable extinction, would typically progress through predictable stages of denial, panic, and ultimately, acceptance of their fate. But humans were proving to be different. They're not following the expected response patterns, Kirix transmitted, bringing up historical data from other civilizations. Look at these energy signatures. They're not building arcs or trying to escape. They're studying the stellar core itself. The holographic display showed a swarm of automated probes humanity had launched toward their sun, each carrying instruments that the Meridians' predictive algorithms had deemed far too primitive to gather any meaningful data. Yet somehow, these crude devices were measuring quantum fluctuations that even Meridian science had difficulty detecting. Their method is chaotic, unstructured, Talon observed. They're throwing everything they have at the problem, without any coherent strategy. But Kirix had spent too long watching humans to dismiss their efforts so easily. Over the centuries, they had demonstrated an uncanny ability to achieve results through what the Meridians would consider deeply flawed approaches. Where Meridian science proceeded with careful precision and centuries of planned observation, humans seemed to embrace uncertainty, even failure, as part of their process. The display shifted to show a new development, a massive construction project in Earth orbit. Humans were building something, but its purpose defied the Meridians' analysis. It wasn't a habitat or a spacecraft, it appeared to be some kind of massive energy collector, but its design violated several fundamental principles of efficient energy transmission. They can't possibly believe this will work, Talon transmitted, their thoughts tinged with dismissive harmonics. The energy requirements alone would. An alert cut through their discussion. The humans had activated their orbital construction, and the energy readings were unlike anything in the Meridian's extensive database. The crude device was somehow creating a quantum tunnel directly into the sun's core, using principles that should have been beyond humanity's current technological level. Kirix watched in fascination as human scientists began receiving data through their impossible machine. Their communications revealed a growing excitement. They had discovered something about their sun's deterioration that the Meridians, with all their advanced technology, had missed. High Council must be notified, Kirix transmitted. The humans, they're not just observing their sun's death. They're trying to prevent it. Impossible, Talon's response came instantly. No civilization at their development stage has ever. Look at these calculations they're sharing, Kirix interrupted, bringing up intercepted human scientific transmissions. They're crude, inelegant, but they're identifying patterns we never considered. They're seeing connections our algorithms dismissed as statistically insignificant. The observation post sensors registered a new spike of activity from Earth. Launches were being prepared at multiple sites around the planet. The humans had moved from observation to action with a speed that violated all known sociological models for species development. They're mobilizing their entire civilization, Kirix noted. Every resource, every mind focused on one goal. The efficiency is beautiful in its own way. For the first time in their long history of watching humanity, the Meridians felt something new, uncertainty. Their models, refined over millions of years of observing countless civilizations, couldn't predict what these humans would do next. The thought patterns of their entire species seemed to operate on principles that defied Meridian understanding. As Kirix prepared their report for the High Council, they reflected on an uncomfortable truth: perhaps they had been wrong to remain hidden all these years. Perhaps it was time for the Meridians to learn from those they had considered primitive. Because while the Meridians had perfected the art of watching the universe, humans had never learned to accept the role of passive observers. They were about to witness something unprecedented, a young species challenging the very laws of stellar physics. And for the first time in their long history of watching, the Meridians found themselves wondering if they should do more than just observe.